If you really think about it, we start every day like this notebook. We start it with a blank page and a pen to write our story. I'm working on writing mine from yesterday today. Hey everybody, and welcome to Tuesday. Another day started in the week that we call a week. A lot of work for me to do today, some work that I've already started on. I've already had a meeting this morning, so hence I look a little more proper today. But so one of the things that's come to mind, or one of the topics that have come to mind today, was phobias. So yesterday, after talking to a couple of people, we were talking about different fears and different phobias after my spider incident. I, of course, obviously am I'm not deathly afraid, but I don't like spiders. I'm just not a fan of them at all. I don't want them around me, near me, close to me, breathing on the same air. If I see one, I typically have to take care of that. I don't find that to be an irrational fear. I did some research on it once before on why we're afraid of things, why we have phobias, and they say it's potentially an inherent trait that comes from way back before we were civilized, living in roofs, that it has like an instinctual thing that we know that these are bad or dangerous things and we should avoid them. Which explains heights. You know, if you're afraid of heights, that makes sense. If you're afraid of snakes, that makes sense. If you're afraid of dogs or wolves or whatever, any bigger animal, it makes sense because inherently we would be afraid of those in our previous historical ancestral lives, because of course we would avoid those things at all cost. But there are things that we're afraid of that we not necessarily would be inherently afraid of, such as like vampires. I get it, we're afraid of those because they are dangerous, and it could be inherent, I guess. It could be from the old stories back in the day when we used to hear of, you know, tales around the campfire, so we kind of ingrained into our mind that vampires and mummies and things like that are bad and scary. Obviously people wielding knives and things like that are frightening as well. So I kind of get that. But why are we afraid of things? Why do we not conquer those fears? I don't conquer my spider fear just because I don't want to touch them. I've had them touch me. I have been on near them. I just don't care for them. You know, a lot of people are afraid of bugs and snakes, and oddly enough, I know somebody that's afraid of cows. You know I'm talking to you. We have these irrational fears of things that not necessarily we should be afraid of sometimes. So what prevents us from overcoming these fears? Obviously the fear itself. I guess Franklin Delano Roosevelt said that best, right? The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. You know, I'm terrified of the dark. I know what you're thinking. You're like, that's like a 4-year-old's thing, right? I don't like being in the dark. Mostly in the dark alone. I guess that comes from the inherent fears that I've had since I was a kid, you know, of there's monsters in the dark. And I know as an adult, there are no monsters in the dark. Well, I take that back. There may be a few monsters in the dark. I've been in a nightclub or two, but I digress on that one. It is a thing that I guess we're just afraid of stuff sometimes, you know, bigger items, things that are smaller that could be dangerous. It makes sense that we'd be afraid of them. So I kind of was just curious, what are you afraid of? Do you have a fear or a phobia? What scares you at night? What keeps you up? What if you see something or something touches you? What frightens you? What scares you the most? What are you a phobia of? Mine, like I've said before, are pretty rational. Spiders, I don't care for the dark. I don't really like basements or places with exposed light bulbs. And that stems from watching Psycho when I was a kid. If you remember in Psycho, towards the end of the movie, if you've not seen it, watch it. It is a classic. But towards the end of the movie, the character's in the basement. She hits the swinging light bulb. And think about it. When you hit a swinging light bulb or an exposed light bulb in the basement and it swings back and forth, it exposes, only for a brief second, what's in the light. Just enough to scare you. There's, I think there's a video on YouTube that is based around that. The video is called Lights Out. It's a short film, and it kind of explains my fear of the dark and swinging light bulbs, sort of. So if you haven't seen that and you don't mind being a little scared, or a little frightened, give that a watch. It's pretty good actually, but it does, and it's weird because I don't mind scary movies for the most part, but it kind of explains the fear of the dark and what could be lurking out there. Not afraid of ghosts though. Ghosts don't really bother me. They startle me, you know, if there's a rattle or a noise, but I'm not inherently afraid of ghosts or the idea of ghosts. Those don't really bother me. But definitely the dark creeps me out, especially alone, spiders. I don't mind snakes. I think snakes are kind of cute actually, some of them anyway. Bugs in general don't bother me unless they're freaky looking. So yeah, I'd like to know more about you. What are you afraid of? What scares you in the dark? So another day is here. Another day is almost done. Work is almost done anyway. I actually just came to go to the refrigerator to get something to drink and put away what I was having for a snack and get ready to cook dinner. Because it's been a busy day in my kitchen. This is the rack, by the way. I forgot to tell you. This is the Flugen. I don't know. There's some sort of Swedish name. This was the rack that I had such a difficult time with. It's kind of neat. It has little drawers. I think they designed it to use it as a cabinet, but I bought it to use it as a rack. Also, ignore this terrible wall color. This wall color has been out of date for a long time, but as you guys know, I've been working on getting the house redone, so this will be another project another day. Anyway, I know there's not been a lot of video because I've just been working, but there's always tomorrow. So I'm gonna go ahead and get dinner started. Tonight I'm making stuffed shells, so it's like an Italian stuffed shells kind of thing. And I'm gonna eat some dinner, watch some TV, and relax. So I guess I will call this one a day. Till tomorrow.